from where you sit. Well, today we are not coming to you from the exchange, but we are talking to one of the top CEOs who is leading one of the largest companies by market size. It's actually 10 times the size of the next 10th stock that follows this company. You might want to guess which company this is. Well, Safaricom. We shall be speaking to Bob Collymore, the CEO of Safaricom, and we are coming to you from his residence in the upmarket Nairobi. Thank you, Bob, for hosting us.
Welcome, welcome. I can't shake your hands.
Oh, I remember. Good to see you.
No, it's a pleasure.
Keeping well?
I'm well.
All right.
Well, thanks.
And we look forward to an exciting interview. Please
Let's hope so.
show us the way.
Come this way.
All right. Let's take a quick look at his profile. Bob is the CEO of Safaricom Limited, a position he held since 1st November 2010. Previously, he has worked in the United Kingdom, Japan and South Africa in a number of senior executive roles in marketing, purchasing, retail, governance and corporate affairs. He has more than 30 years of commercial experience working in senior executive roles in the telecommunications sector. Bob serves on the board of Acumen, the United Nations Global Compact Board, and is a member of the B Team, a not-for-profit initiative formed by a global group of business leaders to catalyze a better way of doing business for the well-being of the planet. He also serves on the Kenya Vision 2030 board, is a founder trustee in the National Road Safety Trust and chairman of the team's board. He has recently served on UN Commission on Life-Saving Commodities for Women and Children. Thank you so much, Bob, for making time for us.
It's a pleasure.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Should I say Happy New Year, Happy New Month?
I think you can still say Happy New Year because we're just into February now.
All right. And Bob, such an honor to be in your residence. And of course, one of the big conversations currently happening is Fuliza. I mean, how innovative are you in terms of meeting the market needs? Looking at how this product has performed so far, I understand you've clocked about 6 billion in terms of since you started it.
You know, it's the power of the partnership. We didn't do this on our own. We can't take full credit for this. So we've been doing this in partnership with our friends at KCB and CBA, a long-term relationship. And we've been working on this thing now for about 2 years. And I think between us, we have a pretty good understanding of what the customer wants. A lot of people say, you know, you're encouraging people to get into more debt. Well, usually these are people who don't really understand what this product is. You talked about 6 billion shillings in about 30 days,
Sure.
which is a lot of money.
That's a lot.
But you know, the average repayment is in it's about 2.8 days. So people really are using this as an overdraft facility to help them complete a transaction when they just don't have enough cash in the wallet. And as soon as you put money into M-Pesa, then it pays off the debt.
So what was behind the thinking around this product?
We looked at a lot of customers who were usually what we call the hustler segment, who had attempted to make a transaction, didn't complete it because of lack of funds, but then completed that transaction within 2 days. And so we saw, obviously, these people are not people who want to borrow money. It's just people who don't have the funds in their M-Pesa account right now. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they get the opportunity to load the account, then they load it. Mm-hmm. And so it was that insight which led to the product.
All right. And Bob, over time, M-Pesa has emerged as the crown and the jewel, the flagship sort of the company so far. But at the end of it all, we also have the data business, which is also proving to be a force to reckon with.
Data is definitely got a lot of growth left in it. The two big drivers are M-Pesa and data usage. And as we get more and more smartphone penetration, more and more people will want to use data. And they're using it for a range of things, you know, starting with social media use, but also you can now use it for things like e-commerce. So you can get onto the Masoko site.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that is data usage. So we're seeing the growth of data. Today, average consumption is about 850 MBs per month. And we see that over the next few years growing into being measured in GBs. So, the average, I think, will be 3, 4, 5 GBs a month.
All right. And one of the trends we are seeing also, Bob, is home internet, which is also an untapped market, if I would say so. It was predominantly occupied by one of the competitors in the industry who are not having a really good time in the market so far. And are you seeing a huge opportunity, especially with the coming up of new estates, new neighborhoods across Nairobi, across the country in totality?
Yeah, again, what's the insight which is driving this is what people used to abuse me for a lot a few years ago, where they wanted unlimited internet. And I understand why they wanted unlimited internet, but if you try to do that on using a mobile phone, it's massively expensive. And so we said, well, how do we deliver unlimited internet? And the best way of doing that is by having fiber to the home. I mean, this home has fiber, so whenever I want to access the internet, I just go on. I don't pay any extra for it. I pay my monthly fees. So it was that unlimited internet, but then we developed some further insights into it to say people wanted security. So security cameras, they want to see what's going on in their home when they're at work and stuff like that. So that was a surprising piece of insight which came out. And of course, people want content. We're still working on the content piece.
All right. And still staying with this home fiber, it's quite fascinating for me because I'm actually one of your customers. I've also seen the rates that we've been paying compared to what we paid late last year coming into the new year. The rates were revised. And personally, I felt it was quite a bit unusual, knowing that your business has been expanding. I don't know, what is your message to consumers out there who feel the rates should be lower than what we pay currently?
I would point you to Treasury, because this was the imposition of the new taxes,
All right.
which previously didn't apply to home internet. And so it's Mr. Henry Rotich that you need to go point a finger at.
That's a smart one.
Yeah, look, I mean, I understand why government needs to spread its tax net, because really the numbers of people who are paying tax in the country does not reflect the number of people who are working. So government has this big challenge. We always object when taxes are pointed at our industry, whether it's on voice, it's on mobile money, or in this case, it's on data and fiber to the home.
Okay. And finally, on the data business, Bob, with these new emerging neighborhoods, are we likely to see a drop in the charge per month, especially now that you'll have more economies of scale?
The prices continue to come down. So if you look at the prices that people average price per, and I'm talking mobile here, but the same would apply to fix. If you look at the average price, it's actually declined by about 30% in the past year, and that will continue to come down. I would hope that we would start to make this more and more affordable for lower and lower income people, because access to the internet is a kind of a basic right that people should be able to exercise.
Speaking about basic rights, Safaricom recently celebrated its 18 years of transforming the way Kenyans live, interact, and do business. And what are some of the milestones that, when you look back with hindsight, you say, wow, we made it?
Well, between Michael and I, we look back at some of the big problems that we've had. And usually those problems are around network outages. So I've had my fair share of network outages, either with M-Pesa or with the network going down. Michael has had the same. So they're on the negative side. There are a ton of positive things. We were not the first mobile operator in the country. We were not given the first license. We were the second. We've kind of grown, and Kenya has grown with us. Our customer base has grown with us. M-Pesa is the one which comes up time and time again. Investing in 3G is something which we did when no one else wanted to do it. I remember I was sitting on the board and Michael was the CEO at the time, and the business case did not stack up, but Michael said, you know, I think it's the right thing to do. Similarly, when we launched 4G, you know, a lot of people were saying, I don't think Kenya is ready for 4G, but we went ahead. And so we've always had the confidence in the country, always had the confidence in the market when other people didn't. The result of that is that we have ended up being the largest player in the market because we still continue to invest 35 billion, 36 billion every year, which no one else does. And if you do that, you will end up with the biggest network. You will end up with the highest quality network, and you will therefore end up with the largest numbers of customers. It's not a surprise.
Sure. And of course, this baffles many because now you earn the tag of being a dominant player.
Yeah, and we are, if you define dominance the way we define dominance, then we are a dominant player.
Sure.
You know, we don't have an issue with that.
No apologies at all.
Well, no, I mean, I can't apologize that we have continued to invest in the sector.
Sure.
You know, so you invest in the sector and you get a return for it. I look back on my early days here, where people were reducing the prices to but at the time I called an unsustainable level. And it was unsustainable because if that's the price you charge, you will not make a profit and you will not be able to invest. And if you don't invest, you will lose market share. And so I can't apologize for growing the company the way I've grown it, the way we've grown the reach of the company, the way we've constantly innovated. So, you know, why would you apologize for that? What I would apologize for if we were guilty of it is an abuse of that dominance. And, you know, there's been no evidence that we have abused the dominance. There are times when, for example, the Competition Authority have said you need to remove the exclusivity on your M-Pesa agent.
Sure.
And we said, fine, and we did. So, you know, whenever we've been tackled on things, we've responded positively to it.
All right. And Bob, linking this response you've just given me, the growth of M-Pesa Global, from where you sit, what does it mean for the company?
Well, you know, M-Pesa has been successful in Kenya, and you know, kind of like everybody uses it. But if you want to send money overseas, or you want to get money from overseas, it's a bit of a schlep. You know, it's expensive.
Sure.
And so we've partnered with PayPal, for example. So if you want to buy, I mean, a lot of people don't use PayPal because they either don't have a credit card or they definitely don't want to put their credit card there because they don't trust it. So you can pay through PayPal using M-Pesa. We have worked for a very long time with Western Union, where you can send money from Western Union to here.
I remember those days.
Yeah, you remember it was a long time ago. It was when I first started, actually. Now you can send money from Kenya to a Western Union point overseas, and a lot of people have got their kids or friends or family that they need to send money for. I mean, a lot of my friends whose children are being educated overseas. It's a way to transfer the cash. We've got some other things that we'll be announcing over the course of the next few weeks in this M-Pesa global space, how we will partner with other people to use M-Pesa for doing other things, for paying for other things outside of just in Kenya.
I actually have two friends of mine who live, one is in Atlanta, the other one is in New York. And we're in sort of a group where we try to do investments. And I'm the treasurer. So they actually use the service. It's actually called Wave. Yeah.
So Wave has been around for a very long time. I remember when I first encountered it, it was in Los Angeles, actually. I was there for a Milken Institute summit with some fellow Kenyans. And I met some Kenyans from the diaspora. And they were so enthusiastic about it because here was a company that really understood. And you know, Wave is a small company. It's not huge.
That's what I realized.
It's a very small company, but really understood the market. And that's, you know, they're the kind of partners that we really like working with. They understood the diaspora market better than anybody else and moved that money much more efficiently.
All right. And in terms of diaspora remittances, what's fueling this?
I'm not sure what's fueling the remittances back from overseas, but I do know that Kenyans, and I meet many of them whenever I travel, including when I was off on medical treatment. There are many Kenyans who are really doing very successful things in wherever they might be, whether it's the United States or it's in Europe.
Yeah.
And because Kenya is Kenyans, by and large, you know, we kind of care about our communities. And this is something which is so frequently missed because we fixate on the thieves and the vagabonds. You know, we fixate on the people who are corrupt and who rob the poor blind, you know. And we forget that Kenyans really care about their community. And I think this is what you're seeing with this remittances back. Also, people want to invest back in the country.
Sure.
But you know, if to follow through on this whole Kenyans caring about the community, I mean, this is what we're trying to explore with our current campaign of Ndoto Zetu, where we recognize the Kenyans want to fix their problems in their society, in their communities, small communities, and we recognize the role that we can play in helping them, and that's what that's about.
I was actually coming to that, Bob. Kindly expound more on this Ndoto Zetu. It seems like I did see a couple of adverts on it, as well as some campaigns you've been doing. But for the sake of the investor community out there as well, in terms of what do you actually plan to achieve out of this? And if you're to give us a typical example, how will it work?
Well, how is it working? The Safaricom Foundation for a very long time has been funding projects large and small, but it started to kind of just focus on the bigger ones. And this was, you know, bringing it back home, bringing it back to what my predecessor, Michael Joseph, say, you know, it ranges from somebody who wants to buy a few chickens to start a chicken farm for a school. And so we said, look, let's just go back to basics. Let's go back to what were we really about? We were really about working with the community to fix the problems in the community. We don't actually do anything ourselves. We always do it in partnership with others. And the people who care most about it are the people who are in the community. And so you'd find a teacher who says, you know, I need to build toilet facilities for my children. And I don't have the funds to do it, so Safaricom, can you help me to do it? So we launched this at the beginning of the year, I think the 2nd of January, something like that, running for about 3 months. And we've invited people in the communities to come up with their dream of how they can help their community. We said, not a dream of how you can help yourself, because I already know what that is. I mean, you know, you just have to look at my email inbox. Every day, you know, somebody wants me to sponsor them to do their masters in Philadelphia.
Sure.
I think, you know, even I didn't afford to do my masters in Philadelphia, so why would I pay for you?
Sure.
But we recognize that there are these ordinary people who want to provide wheelchairs for the disabled in their community, want to do latrines, want to have computers in schools. And today we're getting about, average run rate is about 500 applications a day at the moment. We will only fund 500 of them, spread across the country. Why does that matter to us? You know, businesses cannot succeed in societies which are not thriving, which are not successful.
Yeah.
And we can't hold our heads up as a successful company and feel proud if you have a society where you know, the disabled person can't get into a wheelchair, where children, I mean, if you see some of these latrines that the children are using, you know, it's undignified, it's unhygienic, it's dangerous.
Sure.
And we cannot be proud to be a successful Kenyan company if that's the way that Kenyans are living.
Interesting. And of course, quite a step in the right direction, Bob.
Well, we hope so. We've always done what we think is the right thing. Sometimes it's not been. You know, sometimes we've made mistakes. But you know, hey, we all make mistakes. You make mistakes.
That's true.
But we always try to do the right thing, and we always start, you know, in the right place, despite the criticisms. I mean, you know, you're big, so you get criticized from time to time.
Sure. And Bob, as much as this initiative is aimed towards making a difference in society, it borders on philanthropy to some extent. from where I sit. And Safaricom has also led by example by having sustainability reporting. How does this impact really on how the company is perceived out there, especially now that Kenya is one of the key frontier markets?
We have been driving the sustainability debate for quite some time, ever since I started in the company, because we believe that in publishing a sustainability report, you become much more transparent. You become transparent about the things you succeed at and the things that you're not so good at. So when we look at things like gender diversity, we're very open about it. And we're very open about the movement. You know, has it gone positive or has it gone negative? We started measuring our carbon footprint. If you look at the last sustainability report, you'll see that the carbon footprint has actually gone up. And so it encourages shareholders to say, so what are you going to do about that? You know, you as a company have committed to becoming net zero by 2050. How are you going to achieve the net zero? What are you doing about employing people with disability? What are you doing about gender diversity? What are you doing about governance and transparency? Shareholders then have a greater degree of confidence in how you're managing the company. This is a conversation which I often have, particularly with Northern European shareholders. So shareholders from Norway, Sweden, places like that, they want to know, what are you doing about sustainability? And more particular, what are you doing about the Sustainable Development Goals? And you know, we have elected to support 9 of these goals. And you know, whether it is climate, whether it is working in partnerships, which goal number 17, whether it's good governance. You know, we've stated what those are in our sustainability report, and we report on them.
All right. And Bob, as we come to the tail end of the conversation, one of the bigger questions that, of course, investors would want to hear from you responding to is, we've seen the company's share price actually appreciate over time. When you listed first off, the stock was valued at about 5 shillings. It came to a high and hit about 33 shillings. Now we're talking about in the region of 20. But really, as much as the share has been doing pretty well and you've been one of the most liquid stocks in the exchange, from an investor standpoint, are there opportunities that you might be looking at to raise some capital from these stocks, as much as I know you have very deep cash reserves?
Yeah, we don't need to raise cash. The share price, yeah, we topped out at 33, I think, at some point. I think today it's probably around 26-ish. So if you bought the shares for 5 shillings, we would have given you your money back in dividends. We'd have given you 5.5 shillings back, and plus your 5 shillings would now be worth 25, 26, which is not a bad return, I think. We hope that investors will continue to have confidence both in the company and in the country. And the two things matter a lot. Because, you know, when people are not sure about, for example, the exchange, the Forex, if they're not sure that the shilling is appropriately valued, then they're not going to invest dollar investment in the shilling. And we've seen quite a bit of that in recent months, where investors were saying, great company, like the performance, like the numbers, but not sure I want to put dollars into a shilling investment right now, because I don't know whether the shilling is valued. I mean, the great thing is that I think that between the governor of the central bank and Treasury, they're actually managing it pretty well, and it's defying what people have been fearing about the shilling. The shilling is really consolidating at around 100 to 102, and we're not seeing the decline, despite all the naysayers. So, you know, due credit to the central bank. So, you know, that does matter in the level of confidence that a shareholder has in investing, not just in my company, but in others as well. And of course, the underlying business is important. You know, people need to see that you've got diverse revenue streams coming along in addition to your traditional voice and data. You know, M-Pesa is trucking along, I think, pretty well. Felicia is just yet another example of how we're going to continue to innovate that. And we've only just started on the innovation. You know, we kind of slept a little bit with M-Pesa, but now we've got a fantastic guy who's leading it, Sitoyo. And Sitoyo really has turned this business around in the last year. And, you know, he will continue to do great things. So for investors, you know, I think it's a confident investment.
Interesting. So Bob, what keeps you awake at night?
That generator you're hearing over there is what keeps me awake at night. I'm not kept awake at night. I think that people who don't sleep well don't perform well. So I do actually get my 7 to 8 hours sleep. You know, what do I focus on? And certainly in the last few months and year, you know, you have a greater degree of focus. My real focus is how do I ensure that this company is set up to continue to thrive into the future, and that's going to be about, you know, what are the new opportunities we can explore, and how do I get the team out of the complacency of saying, well, you know, M-Pesa is great and data is great, and so we're good to go. You know, how do I get the team to understand that the threats will not come from the mobile operators? The threats will come from the social media players. You know, WhatsApp. I keep saying to people, you know, even my Fitbit, in some countries you can pay using your Fitbit today.
Yeah.
So these are the new competitors that are coming. And, you know, I really need to make sure that the rest of the team understand that they need to look beyond the horizon at what the next opportunities are.
All right. So Bob, you are away for about 6 months, and you lead a very big team, and of course one of the key landmarks of leadership is how do you leave your team to succeed even in your absence?
So a couple of corrections there. The first one is I was actually away for a year.
Oh yeah.
And the second thing is I don't lead a big team, I lead a very small team. So I lead a team of 10 people. And they then lead the rest of the organization. I don't lead the rest of the organization.
Sure.
And I think that's the trick. You know, you empower them. You know, so many people who send me CVs, and please don't send me CVs, because I don't give jobs. I only give jobs to the 10 people who work for me. Beyond that, it's their decision. So you empower them to make decisions. You choose the best people. And I must say that I'm extraordinarily proud of the team. And they prove themselves. You know, they proved themselves last year. If you look at the results, it will show that it's the right team doing the right thing.
Sure.
So this company is a company that's led by one person, but actually managed by a great executive team of 10 people, and then in themselves they lead great teams below. All
right. And you look like you're in tip-top shape, Bob. What have you been up to?
It's the drugs. I'm only half joking about that. Look, you know, I think you have to keep. I keep saying to people, you know, if you're in a swimming pool, if you don't do anything, you'll drown. You know, you have to keep kicking and splashing around to at least stay afloat. But I try to do a little bit more than just stay afloat. I try to move forward as well. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And how are you responding so far to your drugs?
You know, it's a new way of living. You know, you need to learn to live with cancer. A lot of people talk about beating cancer and stuff. Some people do. I'm learning to live with it. I have cancer, and as you can see, it's not really getting in the way of things.
It's manageable.
I'm learning to manage it, but you know, with a great medical team, both here in Nairobi and in London. So between them, I keep them busy.
All right. Hope the family is also supportive.
You know, look, none of this could have happened without the support of the family. A wife who's just extraordinary. You know, the fact that she came to London and lived through some pretty cold and miserable weather. She watched her husband go through his treatment, and 100% support, not 99%, 100% support, and until now, very protective. So I can't interact so much with people because of my immune system. So I can't shake hands, I can't go into larger crowds, and she helps me navigate through that difficult time. As is a wonderful personal team back in the office. So, I look at my PA, Marion, Gladys, Ada, they all really protect me and make sure that I can keep the balance and I can keep working well.
Awesome. And Bob, what will be your parting shot really as we come to the end of this conversation, knowing that as a country we are at the cusp of fighting corruption? The president is on record saying that it will be an all-out war.
So we've taken a long time to get to this point. We actually developed the private sector anti-bribery laws a while back. We still haven't seen anyone being prosecuted under these laws. So at the time we said we don't have the right laws. Now we got the right laws, and the private sector hasn't stepped up to this. What's really good to see is that in the public sector, the DCI, the DPP, EACC are all taking this seriously. And it's the first time that we've seen this concerted effort to bring people to justice. Now, having said that, we still now need to see people being prosecuted. It's not everybody who's been charged who will be guilty, that's for sure. And you are innocent until you're proven guilty. But now I think it's up to the judiciary to deliver on their part of it. And you hear the CJ say, but you have to bring good cases, and he's absolutely right, of course. But I still think that it's now in the hands of the judiciary. The politicians have done their bit. You've seen a lot of public servants who've been, hauled to account. But I think the judiciary now needs to step up and bring these cases to closure. If you're in the UK and you're had up for corruption, if you're had up in October, you'll be in jail by now.
All right.
We have to have swift justice because, justice delayed is always justice denied.
Mm-hmm. Great place to end the conversation, Bob. We need to see more of convictions rather than prosecutions.
You absolutely need to see more convictions. You need to see people go to jail. No question about that. Because the people who suffer most from corruption are the poor. And that's just not, it's just plain wrong. And so let's deal with it. But I'm really pleased to see the political will behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's from the president, whether it's from Raila Odinga, whether it's from the DP, whoever it is, they're all saying, let's finally deal with this thing once and for all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to linking up more over and over.
You're welcome.
All right.
It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Well, quite a lengthy and insightful interview there with Bob Collymore, the CEO of Safaricom, one of the listed companies in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, actually the biggest company by market valuation. Well, it's now time for us to take a quick look at our market analysis for this week. Well, it is bye-bye from us from Kitisuru, where we were having an interesting conversation on the future of the telecommunications industry with the CEO for Safaricom, Bob Collymore. And is quite optimistic that the future of the industry really lies on the data business as well as mobile money transfer services. Well, that is our nugget for today. My name is Agina. On behalf of the entire team that made this a success, we wish you a lovely weekend ahead. And do catch us next week on The Trading Bell.